The day Mrs. Henderson declared my treehouse an urban blight started with the smell of rain on dry earth and the sound of my daughter's laughter echoing from the old oak tree. Then came the screech of her tires and the click of her designer heels on my driveway. She waved a cease and desist order in my face, her voice a venomous whisper about property values and municipal codes. She gave me 48 hours to tear it down. My treehouse, the one I built for my little girl. But what she didn't know, what made a slow smile spread across my face as she ranted, was that her own perfect, manicured world was about to come crashing down. Because while she was trying to take my treehouse, I was about to take her home's historic status and the six-figure tax break that came with it. My name is Leo. I'm 52, a history professor, and I was about to teach the most satisfying lesson of my life. After a lifetime of academia, of dreaming over old maps and dusty archives, I finally bought the old craftsman bungalow on Willow Street. It wasn't much to look at, with its peeling paint and overgrown garden, but it had soul, and it had the oak tree, a magnificent, centuries-old giant with branches that stretched out like it was welcoming the sky itself. For my daughter, Chloe, it was a castle in the clouds. For a year, every weekend and every evening after grading papers, I was out there. I didn't just build a treehouse. I built a fortress of imagination. We used reclaimed wood from the old porch, stained it ourselves, and even installed a little pulley system for a bucket, so she could haul up her stuffed animals and lemonade. It was our project, our sanctuary. It's where she learned to swing a hammer, where we'd read stories as the Fireflies came out, and where she told me, just a month after her mother passed, that she finally felt happy again. That treehouse wasn't wood and nails. It was a scaffolding holding up my daughter's healing heart. I thought the neighborhood was charmed, a mix of young families and retired couples, everyone friendly. We'd exchange gardening tips, keep an eye on each other's packages. Then I met Eleanor Henderson, HOA president. If a dictatorship could be housed in a tastefully appointed 4-bedroom colonial, it was hers. Eleanor was in her late 50s, always dressed as if she were about to chair a corporate board meeting, even to check her mail. She didn't walk. She presided. Her weapon was a leather-bound planner, and her law was the HOA covenant, which she interpreted with the rigid fervor of a medieval inquisitor. Your grass was too long. Your holiday decorations were too gauche. Your welcome mat was too welcoming. Her house was a sterile museum, a monument to beige perfection, and she ruled over our street not with respect, but with a well-manicured fist of fear. What made me a target was simple. I represented chaos. I planted native wildflowers instead of a manicured lawn. I left my garden hose out, and I built a non-conforming structure without the express written approval of Her Majesty. I had checked city codes. The treehouse was within size and height limits, but to Eleanor, my permits were irrelevant. If it didn't pass her taste test, it was a violation. I'd seen her type before. In faculty meetings, on tenure committees, bullies who confuse authority with power. They see kindness as weakness and independence, as a personal insult. She saw a single father, a quiet academic, and she assumed I'd be an easy mark. She thought my gentle demeanor meant I was soft. She mistook my patience for passivity. The great mistake bullies make is assuming everyone is as small as they are. The first shot wasn't fired from her mouth. It arrived via certified mail, a thick envelope on heavy cardstock. Violation notice, unauthorized auxiliary structure, Lot 42, 121 Willow Street. The aforementioned tree-like construction is in violation of Covenant 12, Section C, pertaining to aesthetic harmony and structural conformity. You are hereby ordered to dismantle said structure within 30 days. Failure to comply will result in daily fines. It was signed Eleanor Henderson, HOA president, with a flourish so aggressive it nearly tore through the paper. I found Chloe up in the treehouse, coloring. "What does it say, Daddy?" she asked, her eyes wide. I crumpled the letter in my pocket. "Nothing important, sweetie. Just a note from a neighbor." The lie tasted bitter. This was an attack on her happiness, and I felt a cold, quiet anger begin to simmer. Of course, Eleanor couldn't resist a personal appearance. She descended upon my driveway that evening. "Leo," she said, her voice a syrupy simulacrum of concern, "I trust you received the association's correspondence." "I did, Eleanor, and I assure you, the structure is completely safe and within city code." Her smile was thin and condescending. "The city's standards are a minimum, Leo. We here on Willow Street strive for excellence. That thing is an eyesore. It drags down the character and the value of every home on this block." I looked past her at her perfect, characterless house. "I'd hate to be responsible for that," I said, my voice even. "See that you aren't," she replied, her smile vanishing. "The clock is ticking." The letters became a torrent. MY fence was the wrong shade of brown. My garbage cans were visible from the street. I had an unapproved species of shrub. The fines piled up. She weaponized the neighborhood gossip, holding court at the end of her driveway, shaking her head sadly in the direction of my unruly property. I saw neighbors I used to chat with suddenly find something fascinating on their shoes when I walked by. The final straw was directed at Chloe. She had set up a little lemonade stand at the end of our walkway one Saturday. Eleanor marched over, not to buy, but to pronounce. "Unauthorized commercial activity," she declared to my 8-year-old, her voice cold enough to freeze a pitcher. "This is a residential zone. Pack it up." I saw Chloe's face crumple. The joy sucked right out of her. That wasn't a violation. That was cruelty. And in that moment, my quiet anger solidified into unshakable resolve. I am, at my core, a researcher, and Eleanor had just become my thesis. I requested a full copy of the HOA covenants and the neighborhood's original plat maps. I spent nights buried in the city's digital archives and historical property records. The treehouse was a distraction. I needed to find what she was hiding. Everyone like her is hiding something. The first crack appeared in the historical registry. Our neighborhood was designated a heritage corridor, which came with strict rules about external modifications to preserve historical accuracy. Eleanor's house, a colonial revival, was listed, and then I found the permits, or rather, the lack thereof. 3 years ago, she had installed a massive, gleaming swimming pool in her backyard. It was a blatantly modern addition, all concrete and blue tile, completely out of character with the home's architecture. There was no record of approval from the city's Historical Preservation Committee. None. She had bypassed the very system she claimed to uphold. The dominoes began to fall. A neighbor, an older woman named Florence, who Eleanor had once fined for a faded flag, mentioned offhandedly that Eleanor's property line sure seemed to have grown after she put in the new fence. I pulled the original survey maps. She was right. Eleanor had illegally annexed a 6-foot wide strip of common green space to make her backyard larger. The piece de resistance came from the tax assessor's office. Because her home was on the historical register, Eleanor received a massive tax abatement, but that abatement was contingent on the home maintaining its historical integrity. That unapproved, modern pool was a direct violation. She was fraudulently receiving a tax break worth thousands of dollars a year. I compiled my evidence with academic precision. Photos, documents, timestamps, links to municipal codes. I had built a bomb, and the HOA meeting was the perfect place to detonate it. The meeting was packed. Eleanor stood at the front, ready to deliver her coup de grace against my treehouse. She displayed blown-up photos of it, calling it a devaluing monstrosity. "We must uphold our standards," she proclaimed. "I move we impose the maximum fines and begin legal proceedings for removal." The room was silent. Then I stood up. "Eleanor," I began, my voice calm and clear, the same tone I used to lecture. "You're absolutely right. We must uphold our standards." I walked to the front, my laptop in hand. It's so important that those standards apply to everyone, don't you think? I connected my laptop to the projector. The first image that flashed up was her backyard, the modern pool gleaming under the sun. Then, the city statute requiring historical committee approval. Then, the database search showing no such permit existed. Her face went pale. The room gasped. I continued, clicking to the property line maps, overlaying them with current satellite images, highlighting the stolen land. Murmurs turned into angry shouts. Finally, I displayed the tax abatement form and the clause about maintaining historical integrity. It seems, Eleanor, that you are guilty of far more than aesthetic violations. You are guilty of fraud, theft of public land, and abusing a system designed to preserve history for your own financial gain. The room erupted. She was shouting, sputtering, calling it lies, but the evidence was irrefutable, projected 10 feet tall for everyone to see. Her allies were silent, shrinking into their chairs. As the meeting descended into chaos, I made one quiet phone call, not to a tow truck, but to the city's tax assessor and a reporter from the local paper I'd tipped off earlier. The fallout was swift and brutal. Eleanor was immediately voted out as HOA president. The city launched an investigation. She was forced to apply for retroactive permits for the pool, which were denied, and was ordered to pay back every penny of the tax abatement with penalties. She had to tear down the fence and return the stolen land. The story made the local news. HOA president accused of hypocrisy and fraud. Her reign of terror was over, dismantled by the very rules she weaponized. A week later, I was staining a new railing for the treehouse when a new neighbor stopped by. "Nice place," he said, nodding upward. "My kids are jealous. Mind if I build one too?" I smiled. Not at all. I saw Eleanor only once more, hurriedly loading groceries into her car, trying to avoid being seen. The woman who once commanded the street now scuttled across it, invisible. The power she had wasn't real. It was just a loan, and the second we all demanded it back, she was left with nothing. My victory wasn't in her humiliation. It was in the sound of Chloe's laughter floating down from the oak tree that evening. It was in getting my peace back. Bullies can only win if you play by their crooked rules. The real power lies in knowing the rules better than they do and having the courage to call the bluff. Strength isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the calmest, the most prepared, and the one who never loses sight of what they're truly fighting for. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever stood up to a bully in your life? What was your moment of victory? Share your story in the comments below. Let's create a community of those who refuse to be pushed around. If you enjoyed this story of quiet rebellion, pay it forward. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next tale of underdog triumph. Because trust me, the best ones are yet to come.